Hello and a very warm welcome to Sport for Business. Our daily interview today is with Damian McKeown. Damian is chairman of one of the country's largest GAA clubs, Cuala in Dalkey, winner of the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Club Championship for a couple of years ago. Damian, you're very welcome to Sport for Business. Tell me how has it been for the GAA at club level over the past 3 months and now as we go into preparation for reopening?
It's been an interesting time, Rob. I have to say, as a club chairman, I've had a nice break. I do work in the health sector, so all my efforts have been in a different way. But it's been very quiet. On the pitches, obviously, there's nobody out and about. The odd time you see somebody pucking a ball on a pitch or kicking a ball, but it's been broadly very, very quiet. Lots of fun things going on WhatsApps and at club level, where people are getting out and doing some skill checks and teaching kids, giving them something to do in the back gardens. I think there's a lot of grass is gone with people standing around and pucking balls against walls. At club level, it's slightly different in that we're the kishta of the different clubs are really looking at where we are and where we're going to be by the end of the year. This is a time of year when we should be kicking into major competitions. The GAA, as you well know, is volunteer, and we get our money from sponsorship and from going out and rattling buckets and doing all those good sponsorship things that we do, bag packing. So all of these things are gone and will be gone until the end of the year. So finances are a big problem. Some clubs have taken out mortgages for doing building works. They still have to pay those mortgages, so they're struggling. Other clubs like Cuala are, for once, I have to say, never thought I'd ever say that we're lucky that we don't own a pitch, but at least we don't own a pitch, so we don't have the costs associated with that. But everybody is I'd say is suffering. I think all the players want to get out. I think all the kids want to get out, and now we have to try and get them out in a safe way. One of the things that we all say within the GAA is that it's not just your club, it's not just the games, it's the community. And I think when you look at what's happening around the country and the amount of money that's been raised for really worthy causes by GAA clubs and by players and cross club, somebody comes up with a good idea and the whole GAA community are rolling in, and there's initiatives out there that have collected 70,000 euro. And that's happening across the country. At some stage, I'm sure we'll find out how much the GAA community have actually managed to raise in good cause, not for clubs, not for players, but for good cause. And that has been a huge element for keeping the GAA community going while we're not playing. I think it's been a fantastic thing.
Yeah, and there has been a lot of work gone in the community as well. I know there was the partnership, the Club Together partnership with the local authorities and with Musgraves and Super Value and that, and a lot of good work going out and delivering to people, the most vulnerable people and the people in need within the community as well.
Yeah, I think in our own club we've done something like 200 let's call them interactions. They're not all shopping, but they're starting people's cars, walking the dogs, putting bins out, just coming to the window and actually chatting to people. There's a lot of vulnerable elderly people out there, and they got a lot from it, and indeed our members have got a lot from it. With members who nobody knows who they are, they're just a quiet group. We have over 100 people. I think we've well over 100 people who volunteered, and I think we actually used about 90 people to help out. We're actually winding that down now, because what we're finding is that the elderly people who we were doing the shopping for, they now want to get out and do it themselves. But we've identified there's still a few people out there that are vulnerable, and we're going to, while we're winding down the main area, we're going to keep contacts with some of the people that we've identified as being continue to be vulnerable. So we're going to maintain looking after our community, while those who are happy and healthy and glad to be able to get out to do their own shopping are actually getting out there. But it's been fantastic. We've had fantastic letters and emails in from elderly people to say how great they were and how great and it's not just the elderly people in the club or the middle-aged people. It's a lot of the younger kids, you know, the 18, 19, 20-year-olds are all out there doing their bit and loving it. And it's part of that giving back. It's a fantastic thing that the GAA do.
So yeah, clubs very much at the heart of the community. Now we need to get back into the everyday life, and we've been given a date, 29th of June, coming out from Croke Park as part of its adherence to the government's roadmap as to when we can go back into training. Matches will be a little bit later, club championships a little bit later after that. It's going to be a complex pathway back, though, as we understand, looking at the guidelines and the stipulations as to what's needed. How is a club like Cuala, big as it is, with lots of pitches and lots of teams, going to stick to the letter of the law and bring training back in as safe a manner as possible?
Big question. There's been about a week of preparing to answer that one. I suppose really the important thing we have to think about is the players. What we want to do in Cuala is to ensure that player welfare is the important thing. So what we want to do is rather than just take the criteria and apply them for the sake of having a box ticked, we want to make sure we do it in the right way to make sure that when players go onto a pitch at any age, that they're comfortable, that everybody around them is as healthy as we can identify at the time. It's a huge job, Rob. We have so many people who will want to get back, and people are chomping at the bit to get back. So the first thing we have to do is identify at this stage in the season how many teams want to get back out. A gut feeling is all of them will want to. But if you consider a club with about 1,600 playing players, that's a lot of people who want to train probably twice a week. So the first thing we've had to do is to send out the word and say, come back to us and tell us who wants to train and how often you need to train, so that we get a quantum of the number of players we're going to have. We'll have to break that down into groups of 12, including the coaches. And then we have to try and look at the facilities we have and the pitches that we have available to us and see, can we actually get them all onto a pitch in line with the regulations of the 12 and the coaches. Then we have things like, how do you get them onto the pitch? We have this form which the regulations are stating we have to fill in. So we got to make sure that that's filled in appropriately. So that's going to take quantum of time to get from a gate, social distancing, through a check-in, and then up onto the pitch. So it's all about people and a flow, a safe flow of people through. When we get them onto the pitch, then we have to prepare to get them off the pitch, because we're going to be using every hour we have, because obviously instead of having 40 or 50 people on the pitch, you're only going to be able to get, well, remains to be seen, but maybe 20, 25, something like that. So we're going to have to use, the time is going to be less. So instead of having a full hour, you're going to have to start the session at 7 and finish it at 7:45. And they're going to have to be gone, completely gone, because at 5 to 8, the next group are going to come in, go through the same process, be on the pitch, and they have to be gone by 8:45. So that logistic is a huge issue. And the key to getting people on the pitch is going to be how we get through that process of doing the checks, the filling in those forms and making sure those forms are going to be done. The way we've been told, and if anyone reads the regulations, there's a form that has to be filled in. We're going to try and do it offline or online, where the data can be filled in advance. And it does lead to the question about, if we give people the option to just fill in the box that says what your temperature is, and it's filled in online, when you arrive in, it can be an app, it can be whatever way we're going to do it. It says your temperature is 37 degrees. Off you go onto the pitch. When we get a little bit further on in the process, when it comes to playing, and somebody is feeling a little bit unwell, but they don't want to lose their place on that team, they might put down 37, but they could be a little bit higher. They could be potentially running some kind of a high temperature. If they do that, the players are impacted. So what Cuala are going to try and do, and it will be difficult, is we want to take temperatures as we arrive at the training ground. Take the temperature, and then we know for sure. We will have to tell people not to run to the pitch because their temperature would be up. But broadly speaking, the idea would be we'll take a temperature there and then everyone will be comfortable that whoever is training on the pitch doesn't have a temperature at that particular time. And that's the tack we're trying to take. There's lots of other things we have to do, but they're going to be the main two things to try and get the flow from off the pitch onto the pitch and back off the pitch.
Okay, and then there is a question of hand sanitizers and dressing rooms and toilet facilities, which of course will be different in every club and different at every location. But that all goes into an event plan which the club will be drawing up, over the next couple of days. We've got a couple of weeks until June the 29th. So the guidelines will be coming out from Croke Park as well in more specific detail about what's required from the club. But you're working on the basis that what we know at the moment is likely to be what it will be over the course of the next few weeks, at least in the main skeleton of it. That there will be tweaks, but you're getting ready to do it now.
Yeah, and what the tweaks will not have a huge impact, we hope, on how we do our training. Broadly speaking, we're going to be getting people to bring their own hand sanitizers. People are going to have to bring their own water bottles. Where possible, we're going to close all the clubhouses are closed. The toilets will be closed. We were told we should have an area in case somebody gets ill, but rather than going into the clubhouse, which will need to be therefore sanitized beforehand and then after, what we might do is have a plastic chair that we can clean easily, and have an area to the side of the pitch where we can bring somebody over and hold them there until such time as they can be collected. But what will be more difficult will be when it comes to things like club camps, where if you have large numbers of kids on a pitch and then all of a sudden it rains and you have to try and bring them, where do you bring the kids in? And that's exercising all of the clubs. So some clubs, I think, are considering not having a camp. Other clubs are saying, well, okay, we'll have a camp, but we're not quite sure how it's going to run. We'll need more information from the GA. So those tweaks definitely will be if you're going into the clubhouse. But thankfully, we're in the summer. I think the majority of club members just want to get out. They just want to get out and start training and kicking balls and pucking balls, and for the smaller kids to get out and see their friends and do it in a safe way. So we have plans in place, and we'll do the best we can. We'll do our best to make sure all our members and their families are comfortable coming back to Cuala and to the greater GA family, to make sure that they can get out and do what they love to do.
There will be, because most of the players, many of the coaches will be mad to get back out there, straining at the leash a little bit. But there will be others for whom it's going to be a challenge, that there will be a discomfort. In the UK, they've gone back into schools, and 50% of the kids have gone back, and 50% have said that they're not quite ready for that yet. It won't be as high as that number, but there may be some who would be, who will be challenged by this. Will there be any form of communication to give comfort within those additional groups out there, or will it be done on a team by team basis?
Well, what we're hoping to do is give information out on a regular basis through both the club website and our newsletter, and then we will disseminate the information out as we can to the different sections, and then through the teams, and then out that way. But there's lots of things we need to be doing. We're already conscious of the fact that certainly the younger age group, they have a different lifestyle to when, dare I say, you and I were growing up. Like, we went out and we kicked the ball and walked on walls and climbed trees, and we could go out and spend half a day and not see anybody. They are now socially stuck to that mobile phone, and communication and that contact is huge for them. And a lot of them are suffering from that lack of being able to walk around in the big groups. So we're actively looking at the moment to see if there's any information that we can find out there that will help in the mental health issues that young people may have. We're having difficulty finding it. I'm sure there's a lot of people with issues, but we're certainly going to go hunting and looking for it and try and offer any mental support that we can to particularly the younger people. But it's also going to impact, Rob, on some of our some of the people who just love to come and watch matches. We've a lot of people who've been involved in Cuala for a long time. There's people out there with diabetes, and that can be kids, it can be adults, it can be older people. So we've got a lot of people who want to come back to Cuala, and because of their their underlying health condition just may not be able to. So we need to be able to reach out to them as well and make them realize that we're there, you know. So how we do that, we're not too sure. If games get started, maybe we'll have to start videoing the games and trying to put them up on the website so people can actually see them. But it's going to be a different world. We'll do the best we can. But the trick really is just not to forget everybody, not just to focus on the players, but the B, the C, the D players, you know, and the kids who want to come back. And there's going to be a drop off for sure. The trick is, can we keep them amused and keep them engaged in Cuala in some form. As you know, a lot of the kids, when they're not playing their games, they're meeting doing bag packing, and they're meeting doing fundraising events. So without those fundraising events, once the session finishes at 7 o'clock or whatever it is, they could be gone and they may not see each other until the same time next week. So we're just trying to maintain that community spirit. It'll be hard.
Okay. Last couple of things really on the technical side. I'm aware of the fact that the clubs are being asked to appoint COVID officers. Is there going to need to be somebody involved in every team that's going to take on responsibility for the record keeping, for the temperature checking, for making sure that the hand sanitizers are being used properly? Is that something which is going out? It's a volunteer organization, so it's going to have to be a call on somebody to put their hand up. Is that going to be one for every team, or is that absolutely certain yet?
Yeah, well, I think the way Cuala are going to approach it is we're hoping to have an overall COVID supervisor, that single person who will try and pull the whole thing together, because with a big club with so many teams, 90 odd teams when we actually get into playing, including the kids, you're looking at a lot of people having to do this across the club, across numerous pitches. So we're going to try and do it on a tiered basis. So to make sure that the same message is going out to everybody. But on a day-to-day operational basis, on a training session come the 29th of June, yes, we're going to have one COVID person supervisor per team, and they are going to have the temperature monitor. They are going to have to either manage the paper exercise or hopefully an app based through either Zap or Club Force or whatever else is out there. But the companies who are working with the clubs for registration within the GAA, the LGFA, the Camogie Association, they realize that if they can come up with a proper app, that it will link everything, and it could be a one for all. So it would be, instead of having every club having to manage their own system, if we can do it through the larger companies who are doing the registration, and they can link it into your club membership, and then we'd have all that data. So, but somebody still has to do the work. That's the bottom line. We're still going to have somebody at every session doing the monitoring, doing the checking, making sure the documentation is ready in the event that we need to do contact tracing, that somebody 2 or 3 days later comes up as being COVID positive, and what training session were they in, what group of people were they at, and we can go back into social isolation in relation to that group. It is a huge ask. We're about to put an advertisement up on the club website. It'll be interesting to see if any hands come up, but we're really looking, Rob, and I think all clubs are going to be looking like this. It may be called a mentor, but it realistically is going to be somebody who is on the outskirts of the team. So maybe not a coach, maybe the person who looks after the water bottles, or somebody who comes up before a match and puts out the cones, or puts up a net and then just watches. They may just be the ones to put their hands up. And then there's usually a lot of parents who are really just waiting to be asked. And this is going to be us now asking those people to put your hand up. It won't be terribly onerous. It'll be, once we get into the swing of it, I give it a couple of weeks and it'll be old hat. But certainly the first couple of weeks are going to be tough. But if we're going to make it work, if we're going to make parents, players feel confident and comfortable coming back to the GAA, then we have to do it right from the very start. So it's going to be hard work. We've got a tough few weeks ahead of us, and then a tough few weeks when we get going. But who knows? Maybe we'll all be in Croke Park before we know where we are. Hopefully, look at a
Well,
club championship.
it does. It sounds like it's going to be a fairly mammoth task, but no doubt, like mammoth tasks in the past, you just take it one bite at a time, one step at a time, and it will get done. So, well, for now, thanks very much for taking the time out from all of that preparation and from your work in the in the health service as well. So, Damian McKeown from Cuala GAA, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Rob. Thank you.